Are you finding you and your VHS collection have too much in common? Neglected? Moldy? Damp? Stinky? Starting to rot? Well, I'm here to help you fix that, and through the power of magical thinking, you too will be renewed, shining, mended, living your best life. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to want to do, obviously, is have a moldy tape. And I recommend inspecting all your tapes before you buy them. This I found for very cheap, and I'm a big fan of Studio Ghibli. My girlfriend is too. So we decided, even though it was moldy, let's buy it. We can clean it ourselves. If you don't want to clean your tapes, you don't want to buy moldy tapes, just make sure you look out for that. A lot of thrift stores, they don't really care. But you can see here, all this white stuff here, this is all mold. And so that's the stuff we want to get rid of. Now this tape isn't that bad. I've seen some that are really disgusting that look like they've been in a basement since the 90s. But this one, I'd say this is a moderate case, mild to moderate case of mold. But nevertheless, this is a moldy tape that we're gonna have to clean. So check for mold, check your tapes. The second most important thing you're gonna need, arguably the most important thing you're gonna need, is a VCR to clean them. Now I recommend having a separate VCR for cleaning. I have one for cleaning, I have one for watching. Actually I have many VCRs, but in general, you want to keep the cleaning and the watching separated. There is a chance, and albeit a small chance, but there is a chance that if you clean your moldy tapes in the VCR that you use to watch tapes, it could infect clean cassettes. And nobody wants that. Now that does sound like a luxury, but you can find used VCRs for pretty cheap if you know where to look. Thrift stores, yard sales, flea markets, things like that. You can get them secondhand from a reseller, but they're pretty expensive. And unless you're buying from someone who refurbishes VCRs and cleans them and knows what they're doing, I wouldn't necessarily recommend buying from a reseller. There's just too many out there in the wild that you can still get as of recording this video. Enough of that, that's my spiel. So one thing you're absolutely going to need is 91% isopropyl alcohol. And you're probably saying, well, I have 70% isopropyl alcohol in the bathroom. I don't recommend using anything lower than 91% isopropyl alcohol. And the problem with the lower concentrations of alcohol is it has a higher percentage of water. And water is the catalyst that's going to make that mold want to grow back. So, or grow, a second time. So we're going to use 91%. And that's because this evaporates so fast that there's not really any water left over that's going to cause moisture inside of our cassette tape, which is going to propagate more mold in the future. So I recommend 91% or higher isopropyl alcohol. You can get it at CVS, drugstores, Walmart, whatever, for cheap. And it's good to have on hand, I guess. So to create our little cleaning apparatus here, we're going to need a microfiber cloth, like I mentioned. We have 3 or 4 Q-tips. I like to use 4. Doesn't have to be Q-tips, I just find it's easy and most people have them around. Just gonna put those together, kind of like that. So we're just gonna take Q-tips and microfiber cloth, put it kind of in the middle at the edge, one of the ends. I'm gonna fold this over, holding it all together, right? And we're just gonna kind of fold it like this. You want to make sure those ends are all the way at the bottom here. And then we're just going to kind of fold it and fold it, fold it and fold it and fold it till we end up with basically this. At this point, we're going to want to get our elastic band, and we're going to take it Run it over here. Looks like I gotta do one more. Make sure everything's tight in there. Not too tight, but you don't want it loose either. And there you go. That's our little cleaning device. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some alcohol. We're gonna put it on the end of this here, and that's what the tape's gonna run over. And as it passes over, the alcohol is gonna clean up all that mold. So I'm gonna get my screwdriver and I'm gonna show you how to take the lid off, and then we'll get started. Okay, so I have a screwdriver. This is just an electric screwdriver, nothing special, because I'm lazy. Now I have 2 screws here. Usually it's 2 screws. It could be more if you have a VCR DVD combo, something like that. In general, it's gonna be about 2 screws. Pretty simple. It's not rocket surgery. It's just VCR surgery. In my case, this just pops right off. In general, that's how it's gonna work. So now we have the innards of my VCR. This is a pretty simple setup, nothing too crazy. I think this is from the 90s, so, you know, it's pretty, they get it pretty down by then. Now you're probably looking at this and saying, wow, that looks complicated. I'm too stupid to do this. Well, I'm the stupidest person I know, and if I can do this, I'm sure you can manage as well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna insert the tape. It's gonna run along the track as it plays, or fast forwards and rewinds, and we're gonna clean it as it moves. Pretty straightforward, not much to it. We're gonna take our tape, rewound, by the way. Make sure you rewind your tape first, or make sure the tape's rewound. Now mine auto plays, so we're just gonna go ahead and hit pause, or stop in this case. Stop, I'm gonna rewind it, make sure it's all the way back to the beginning. And now, you see here, how the tape is running through. Your VCR may be set up differently. I'm just pointing this out so you know it might not look exactly like mine, but the same basic concept is still working. So I've gone ahead and cleaned off my work surface, and we're going to take our microfiber cloth, and we're going to take our cotton round. We're going to get some alcohol on the cotton round, and then we're going to go ahead and apply it to our microfiber cloth. And the reason I do it this way is I don't dunk it in and get this thing soaking wet, because I don't necessarily want it soaking wet. Now we're going to take this and place it right in here. There may be a way for you to lodge this kind of in here. You have to be kind of careful, so I kind of play it by ear as I go. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the play button. And our tape is starting to move through, right? Now as it's moving through, it's running over this microfiber cloth. And what that's doing is it's cleaning the read part of this tape. But I don't have all day, so I'm going to hit stop. And then I'm going to hit fast forward, if I can find the fast forward button right here. And we're just going to fast forward through this whole tape. So you can see this is looking better already. Now it's still dirty inside the cassette shell, but the tape itself is looking pretty good. Definitely a difference from before. And we are going to do another pass on this, so it'll be extra clean. You may need to do more than one fast forward rewind cycle depending on how dirty your tape is. I unfortunately didn't have, or fortunately didn't have, a really dirty tape to show you. This is the best I could do, but you may have to do an extra run or two. So next we're going to open this up and we're going to clean the inside. So assuming this is your first time ever opening up a VHS cassette, I'm going to show you up close. We have 5 screws. You may have more if it's a foreign tape. Generally it's 5 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And yeah. So we're going to take our screwdriver. Now you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We'll put those to the side. Now, if your screws are still in, when you go to take them out by shaking it, hold this together because everything will come flying out. So just go like that, get your screws out if you can't get them by hand. But be careful not to go too crazy with shaking it, because everything will fall out and it'll be a complete and total mess. Not that I've ever done that before. So you're probably just going to pull this off, right? When you go to take this off, you have to remember everything is sitting in this back part of the chassis. So if you lift this, again, things are going to go flying. So you want to flip it over like this, and we're just going to go like that. Wow! Easy peasy, right? Now this tape was very easy to take apart. You may have a tape that has a sticker down here. If that's the case, usually you can just do the same exact thing and there'll be a little crease in your sticker, but you don't have to take the sticker off if it's down here necessarily. There may be stickers on the side, on either side, or sometimes even in here that you'll have to take off or cut with a razor blade. We're lucky with this tape there are no stickers, so it's a pretty easy job. Now this could be where the rubbly gloves come in. If you touch the tape, the magnetic tape, you're probably not going to hurt anything too much. If you want to be extra careful, if this is a very expensive tape, a very rare tape, something that's very dear to you, put on gloves. I'm not going to use them for this tape, but you may want to use gloves at this point or whenever you're touching the actual inside parts of a cassette tape. And so this is where some of that dust has started to spread out, accumulate, fly off. Who knows? You can take some compressed air, blast it on here. You can get that at Walmart in the computer section for pretty cheap. I'm just going to wipe it off with a cloth since there's not too much, but if it's a really nasty tape, you know, maybe get a vacuum, something like that, suck it off, blow it off. So now we go get that face cloth that we didn't use before, and we're going to use that now. So now I'm going to put a little bit of alcohol on this cloth, just a dab. That's more than a dab, but that's okay. And we're going to get in here and we're just going to go nuts. We're going to clean it all out as best we can. You really want to try and get under that metal. Sometimes there can be stuff in there. You come in here, take the dry side, just pat everything down, make sure all that alcohol is gone. And I like to do the same on the outside because sometimes there's some stuff on the outside that makes it look like the inside is dirty. It's really not. Looks much better, right? Now for cleaning the actual spools that the tape goes in. You can hopefully see that that is pretty dirty. And while the tape may be a lot cleaner, it's not going to look clean, and that could reinfect the tape if you don't clean these. This side is pretty clean, but this side does have some gunk in there, so we're going to clean that out. Now to do that, you want to be very careful, obviously, and this is where you would wear your rubbly gloves. But we have this post here, 2 metal posts, a plastic post, and another metal post. So 4 posts. And this is what the tape runs along to guide it through and back in the cassette. At this point, you may want to take a picture, especially if this is your first time ever doing this. Take a picture so you know what it looks like in case anything else goes wrong. If this stuff down here pops out, which can be frustrating to say the least, if you've never had to put them back in and you're trying to do it for the first time. And then you're going to come in and take out post 1, post 2, and you can do this after or before we take the reels out, but you don't have to take this metal post out. Usually I'll leave it in, but if you pull on it, it will come out. It might not feel like it, but it'll come out. So now we carefully take the reels out and wind it back, so that way all the tape goes into the other reel. And here we have our dirty case. So we're gonna take our cloth just like before, and we're gonna really get in here, and don't be shy, right? There's nothing in here you're gonna hurt. If the tape's all out, go nuts. You don't want to have to do this again, or at least not anytime soon. So really get in there and make sure you get it clean. Same thing on the outside, although most of the dirt is on the inside. Okay, so we're ready to move on to the next step, which is going to be putting this back into the plastic shell. So we're gonna put this guy in here, this guy in here. And now if these don't just drop in, there's this little lever down here you can pull and they'll pop right in. Easy enough. So with a little bit of tension, we're just gonna go like that. And so here we're just going to run outside the roller, and this has a little plastic tab here, so keep in mind yours might have that. You might have to move that out of the way. We're gonna go outside that big roller here and around the inside of this. So you might have to actually take out the wheel to get this part to work. So now we have our tape back in, but we need to create some tension, and we'll just wind it back like that. There you go, just like that, it's back together. But we're not done yet. We still have another step to do. So we're gonna take our lid, our front panel, our cover, and put it back on, holding it together. We're turning it upside down, and we're gonna screw it back together. Now, I just put one screw in the middle for this next part. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put all the screws in if we're gonna have to take it apart again in a second. So I'm just gonna put that one middle screw back in. Whoop. So now we're gonna take our VCR back, and we're gonna do the exact same thing we did before, except in reverse. So let's take our tape, insert it, so we're just gonna make sure our tape's completely fast forwarded. We'll take our little cleaning apparatus with the alcohol on it, and we're just gonna go ahead and hit fast forward. Rewind, excuse me, we're rewinding now. And again, I'm holding this up against the tape. I can feel it moving along the microfiber cloth. I'm trying to get as much surface area as I can. There you go, and we'll eject it. Yeah, it looks pretty dang clean to me. Now there is some dust in there still, it looks like. I'm not gonna worry about that. We're gonna clean this side next. If you wanted to, you could do another pass on this. You may have to if your tape's sturdy enough. And if you did another pass, you would obviously come back and clean what you missed. I'm not too worried about it, but that's something to keep in mind. So let's open the tape back up, we'll clean this side, and then we'll call it a day. Okay, so I've got my screwdriver, and remember, we just put one screw in, so all we gotta do is take that screw out. Again, remember, flip it over. And we're gonna go ahead and take the top off, and then we'll do the same thing we did before. We're just gonna pop this out here, and pop this out here. Careful not to spill tape everywhere. Now you can see these little mechanisms here. Sometimes they'll pop off. So you just wanna go like that. Have it one behind there and one behind there. And you can see actually one of the posts got stuck here, and that can happen sometimes, so we'll just pull this guy out and we'll put him right back there. Take our cloth again, add a little bit of alcohol, and then we'll just come back in and clean this side. Now you really want to get into the bottom here, and I think that's where I missed a little bit on the last one. So just try and get everywhere you can. This one really wasn't dirty on this side. There wasn't actually really much anything at all over here, not even much dust. So that was pretty simple. So we're gonna wind this back up a little bit. You can see it's starting to get tangled, so pay attention, keep that in mind. And then just like before, we're gonna go over those two rollers. Pull that lever. And here, again, we're going to go over this outside roller and in between that little plastic tab and a smaller metal roller. Oops. And we'll wind it back. It looks like I got a fingerprint on here. I should have said earlier, if this is really dirty in here, or if there's some nooks and crannies you can't get into, just go ahead and get a Q-tip. You can dip this in the alcohol, that's okay. And then you can come in and kind of get any, corners, stuff like that, if you need to. Like I said, this one isn't too bad. And we're ready to put the lid back on, or the front back on. So let's take the front, holding it together, we're gonna turn it over, and hopefully you remembered where you put your screws. I like to start in the middle. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And here's the finished product. Again, there's a little bit in there still, but I can tell that that's on the spool, so I might do another pass on this just to be safe. I'm gonna fast forward it, clean out the inside of that, and rewind it. But that's it, guys. It's really not difficult. Just takes a little bit of knowing what you're doing. It's not hard. And you can, if you see a tape that you really want that's dirty, don't pass it up, take it home and rescue it. These things were not meant to last. So they need, they need a home. They need someone who's going to care for them. If you want a tape and it's a little bit of mold, don't necessarily pass it up, because you can rescue it. So I did go ahead and do this one more time, and you can see it's even cleaner than it was last time. So that's good enough for me. And yeah, we're ready to rock and roll.